Hello, and welcome to the long-awaited by a couple people return of the Take Back Your Life podcast.
Yep. Hi, guys.
It's been a while. It was before we opened the gym.
Quite a bit before we opened the gym.
So it's been over 4 years.
Mm-hmm. I think the last time we recorded something, we still lived across the street from the park. So
It's been a long time. So
like 5 years ago.
We've actually simplified things, though. So part of the problem with doing shows like this is that it takes a long time to set up and edit. And admittedly, as I was learning, I overdid stuff. Mm. So I spent too much time trying to get everything perfectly, as opposed to just putting out content. And then there's that saying something is better than.
Yeah, especially something consistent. Yeah. Or consistency is more important than perfection.
Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for.
It also applies to fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's everything's going to be kind of always geared around fitness because that's what we do. We run a gym. That being said, I don't want it to pigeonhole ourselves. So if there's something that we feel is important, we want to talk about, I want to be able to talk about those things without it's not really related to fitness. So tune in for obviously fitness content because that's something that we'll talk about. But at the same time, we might have a random guest on here that has nothing to do with fitness. We just feel like talking to. So,
well, I think that's one of the beauties of the gym name being Take Back Your Life, along with the podcast and all of our stuff is being Take Back Your Life. That could mean could encompass so many different things.
Definitely.
Not just your fitness, but just things in your life that you enjoy, nourishing important relationships to you, whether that's friendships or family members or your significant other. That's making time for things that you enjoy, maybe that you've neglected for a while, or just making sure that you are taking part in your community and things that are important to you that way. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of things that Take Back Your Life umbrella could encompass.
It's true. So on that note, we've pretty much just been going hard with the gym, and me being on city council, it's pretty much taken, and raising a 7-year-old and trying to do all the family stuff. It's pretty much taken most of our time, which is one of the reasons we've kind of let this slide. I think this is fun for both of us, but it's not the thing that we make our living doing. So at a certain point, you kind of have to prioritize. And then now that we have the space, and I was just telling Liz when we're getting set up here, we want to strip this down as little as we can to make it as easy as possible to come in here and record. So, my goal really is I like podcasts with 3 people. Mm-hmm. I like that dynamic of having a third person there. So my goal is more often than not to have a third person here. I think kind of getting it set up to where we can actually do that. We're mostly there. A couple more things we might need to get in order to where we can kind of pan in on each other when we're talking. That's kind of the goal. Yeah,
takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Constantly trying to grow.
Yeah, but that's and I think that obviously with the podcast with fitness related content, we have hopefully a lot of people who will be interested in what we have to talk about, being that they're members of our gym, but also I think just being hopefully interesting conversations, and being able to I think that having that third person here will be really exciting too, because that we get fresh perspectives and just different conversations than we would get to have otherwise.
But jumping right into it, you recently got rid of your Whoop.
I did.
So that was something I wanted to talk about, because I had one for 4 years.
Something like that. It was a long time.
Yeah, I was wearing it for a long time. And I've had some people, I think with a lot of things when it comes to fitness, the Whoop included, people don't necessarily, and maybe it's the fault of the company, or maybe it's the fault of the advertising. And I'm not saying Whoop's at fault here. I'm just saying the way people perceive what it is, you have to utilize it in the proper way to get the most of it. What I mean by that is a lot of people have it and they go, oh, it just tells me blah, 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 blah. And they don't put the time and effort into utilizing it properly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the way I looked at it, it was just simply a way to gather data on how my daily habits affected me physically. And I utilized it in that way. So putting effort into the app and the program are what gives you the results. So for instance, if you wake up in the morning, it'll prompt you to put in what you did yesterday. So you can start tracking how different activities in your life affect your recovery. And there's a huge list of hundreds of things.
You can customize what questions ask you or what things you track, what habits you track.
From like if you were injured to what you drank, what you ate, did you take a cold plunge, did you go swimming, did you get I don't know, any variety of habits.
Like how late in the day did you have your last caffeinated drink, and how many did you have during the day, and whether you had alcohol and how much, and what time was your last drink, and things like that.
But if people aren't willing to put forth the effort to really dig in and work the Whoop app, I could see why some people would feel like they didn't get the most out of it. And I think that goes for most wearables. Yeah. So when I got rid of the Whoop, for me, I went with the Garmin watch. Not nearly as intuitive, but I felt like at a certain point I learned what I needed to learn from the Whoop, and I was maybe becoming a little bit too obsessive with it. So it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me I like whiskey. It taught me that whiskey is terrible for my...
alcohol in general is...
Terrible for my recovery. I felt like over the 5 years I had it, I learned a lot how my habits, just my daily stuff, going to bed at the same time, trying to go to bed roughly the same time, waking up at roughly the same time, how different foods affect me, how cold plunges, hot tubs, all the recovery stuff I do affects me, what does and doesn't work. And I was just kind of like, okay, I kind of got what I need out of this, and you're having to pay that monthly fee. I wish that Whoop had just a one-time fee. I probably would have kept it.
Right.
But you're paying that monthly fee. So I'm like, all right, well, let's switch to the Garmin watch, because all I really want now is my heart rate. Now, this has way more capabilities than I use it for, because you can like go into like select your workout, and it'll prompt you to like change, like, okay, you've done this many reps at this many sets. It'll like, will track all that for you. I don't ever use that. I pretty much just use the heart rate. And it gives me your sleep metrics, which I actually like. And it's waterproof, so if you cold plunge or hot tub and stuff, it'll give you all that. But it's not nearly as, and maybe it is, I just don't use it that way. But from what I've seen from having it, it's not nearly as intuitive as the Whoop. So what was your experience with the Whoop?
I think, I didn't mind the Whoop. It's like quite a bit of good information, although I feel like there were no big surprises for me once I got it. I knew that my sleep wasn't good, and I knew that was a major area that I needed to improve on. My workouts, I wore it when I was working out, but I guess there were a few workouts that I did or classes that I teach that were a little bit more impactful, I guess, on my, in Whoop, they call it the strain for the day. Essentially, like just how much work your body's doing during the day. Were a little bit higher than I thought they might be. And so sometimes my strain was pretty high, which occasionally was surprising early on, but then I'd start to see trends, and it wasn't, that I'm like, oh, well, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because I teach these classes, my strain's going to be roughly this because I, taught Zumba those days or whatever. And so a couple of those things were a little surprising, but there was, I think I had a fairly good handle already on what my habits were doing for me or against me. But I guess, and I knew that alcohol wasn't good for recovery, but it is a little bit surprising those first couple of times that you really see it, like visually. Oh, your recovery is 3% today because you had like 2 drinks, and not really 2 drinks, but
Well,
I mean, it won't drop it that low from 2 drinks, but just the extent of how significant that drop in recovery is.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is like we know most of these things, right? If you pay attention to your body, you've been working out for a while, you know most of these things. But I think having to confront it every day is really what forces like the habit change.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool, I know alcohol is bad for me. But when I get up in the morning and I see that I'm 5% recovered from yesterday because I had 5 or 6 drinks the night before, like that sinks at home a lot better than when you can just take a shower, you're feeling a little better, feeling a little bit better, and then like brush it off like, oh, I'm fine. Like really having to like deal with that and contend with like, oh man, I just messed my body up yesterday.
Well, because it'll show you visually, and it's like red, and it's like a graph, like a bar graph or something,
At
and
the
it's
end of the-
like dropped way down, bottoms out because you had a couple drinks that the night before.
Every year that I had it, they give you like your end of the year recap. And
Right.
every year I was part of the 1% club. So there was at least one day every year where my body was only 1% recovered. And it was always after like a heavy night of drinking.
But I mean, probably most people like January 2nd, maybe January 1st because of the New Year's Eve. I don't know. But.
So before we move on, I will say this about fitness trackers for all you jiu-jitsu people out there. It is by far the best fitness tracker for jiu-jitsu. So if you're looking for a fitness tracker for jiu-jitsu, invest in the Whoop and buy, depending on how often you roll, I roll almost every day. So I have like 7 or 8 pairs of the Whoop underwear. They're like compression shorts that have the little spot to put the Whoop in the waistband. The sleeves, they're okay. When you roll as much as I do, I was going through one every couple of months.
Wear out
like
quickly.
the compression sleeves, they're okay. Like it'll work if you just roll on occasion. But if you're doing jiu-jitsu a lot, invest in the Whoop underwear. They're expensive. Invest in the Whoop. It's expensive. But if you really want to track your workouts with jiu-jitsu and you're rolling, it is hands down the best there is. The chest straps, they're all right, but not nearly as good as the Whoop. It's comfortable. You hardly even notice you're wearing it, and it gives you solid data.
Well, with the Whoop, you actually don't have to have a big upfront, like
It's just monthly
you don't
charge.
pay for the device itself unless you bump up to like pretty colors of bands or whatever.
Yeah.
You get the Whoop, and then you have a monthly subscription for the app. But
By far the best for jiu-jitsu, hands down. I mean, there's no comparison.
there's not very many actually that you can wear for
the polar
jiu-jitsu.
chest strap, but I don't like that. I've tried it, and it just does not feel good. Don't like it. The Whoop, you don't even know you're wearing.
There's a ring, right? Like a silicone.
Or a ring. You don't want to wear rings. You're doing
That
jiu-jitsu.
seems,
Just-
not ideal. But.
Buckle down if you take jiu-jitsu seriously and you want to track your fitness. Just buckle down and buy the Whoop, like hands down. And what's funny is if you've been training for a while, depending on like the level of the people you roll with a lot, right? So rolling with, I'm not trying to be rude, but rolling with lower belts. Like my strain was surprising. There's sometimes so it'll give you a strain. I think was 20. 20 is like really really high strain.
Like full, like all out effort. I mean, like a high amount of work. Yeah.
So rolling with lower belts, like purple belt and below. Obviously, I know I'm gonna get hate. I know there's levels of purple belts. There's like some competition purple belts out there probably kick my ass. That being said, rolling with your average like purple belt and below, I'd have like 5 or 6 strain. Then when I go roll with like my really tough training partners, all the brown belts and black belts out there that can really push me, then I get up to like 12, 13, 14 strain. But you'd be surprised that just because you're sweating a lot doesn't mean your actual output is that high. There's days where I'd be pouring a sweat and I get off the mat and I look at my Whoop and it's like, oh, that was a great light workout, after you just rolled for an hour. So you'd be surprised at some of what you get when you actually start tracking your rolls.
Mm-hmm. I know people really like the... was it the Apple Watch that has the little rings to close? I think
for your average person, that's probably more than adequate.
Right. Yeah. I think Whoop doesn't have a lot of that kind of like the like just day to day like close your rings, kind of a goal sort of thing. It's a little bit more.
It'll give you mounds of data. Is the way I look at Whoop.
Yeah.
It'll give you a lot of data. and maybe a topic for the next podcast, it's actually surprisingly similar to the data you get from the 8 sleep bed. The data that Whoop gathers from you while you're sleeping at night, not Whoop, the data that 8 sleep gathers from you while you're working at night is actually
Sleeping at night.
Yeah, gosh. The data that 8 sleep gives you from sleeping at night is surprisingly good and fairly accurate compared to even like my Garmin.
So we got a couple of really big questions that we could probably do an entire episode on, but we're going to start kind of basic, maybe. Maybe it's not basic, but foundational is probably a better word for it. So Ashley asked us, how often do you need to work out per week to be able to lose weight and to keep it off? And I think that that's a really good place to start, because we can talk a little bit about actually whether workouts are the best way for maintaining or losing weight or not, and the other things that would go into that.
So so I've admittedly struggled with weight most of my life. I've gotten to a point where I'm conscious about what my body is doing, and I accept or manage things, I guess is a better way to put it. So here I look at it twofold. So there's I lift weights to look better, as in I lift. So I guess when I started, I built a foundation of muscle being in a caloric surplus. So knowing that I wanted to be physically capable, be strong, and fill out sleeves and shirts and look good in clothes, because there's a level of vanity to it for almost everybody. So maybe me more so than others, but there's a level of vanity to it, right? So I wanted to look a specific way. When you're trying to attack that be physically capable and strong and build muscle side of things, you have to accept the fact that you're not going to lose weight. So the only thing that changes for me personally when I want to lose weight is I accept the fact that I'm likely not going to be building size and strength during that time. So my workouts switch to maintaining a specific level of size and strength, and all of my weight loss comes in the kitchen. Knowing how much I can eat every day while maintaining weight and losing weight, and adjusting that based on my daily expenditure, right? So if I roll 2 times, I roll 20 rounds in a day, then I'll know that I have an extra 500 or 600 calorie buffer in my calories that day that I can utilize or choose not to. Maybe I want to maintain that extra 500 or 600 calories in a deficit and just keep eating the same way that I was the day before that. So at the end of the week, my caloric deficit goes from 3,500 or 4,000 calories to 4,500 or 5,000 calories, right? The hard answer that nobody wants to hear or deal with is that almost all of your weight loss is going to come from how you're eating.
Yep. Yeah. People get stuck on often how many calories am I going to burn in this workout? And I mean,
you can't outrun a bad diet.
Exactly. And yes, you will burn calories in a workout, but it's kind of the short-sighted view of exercise. My preferred way of thinking of it is, exercise is great for many reasons, both mentally and physically. But the main reason for exercising, at least in terms of when it comes to weight loss and things, is the increasing our engines burning capacity, and to that vein, maintaining the muscle that we've already have as much as possible while we're losing weight. And so the exercise while we're trying to lose weight is maintaining our engine. And then with the nutrition part of it, that's where the main part of our deficit comes from, to be able to tap into the storage reserves that are already on our body, meaning our body fat, so that we lose fat over time.
So and not to get it twisted, right? There are other elements to weight loss other than. So really, it does come down to what you're eating. The other elements affect the level of caloric intake and expenditure that you have. So, for instance, if you're a middle-aged man with low testosterone, it's going to be harder for you to put on muscle and easier for you to put on fat.
Well, it's always calories in versus calories out, but a myriad of things will affect how many calories go out.
Your BMR is,
and
right?
And then you have to adjust the calories in based on the calories out, meaning your entire day, not just what you burn in a workout, but what your body uses at rest, during activity, during exercise, all of that, and the input needs to be lower than that. But a lot of things can affect that, how many calories go out. A 18-year-old high school athlete, their calories out obviously is going to probably be vastly different than a 41-year-old mom of three who works a desk job.
So to kind of qualify what I was saying is that if you're a middle-aged man that has low testosterone and you don't have your hormones in check, it's going to be harder for you to put on muscle. The more muscle you have, the higher your BMR is, or your basic metabolic rate, right? So how many calories you can consume in a day to maintain, build, or lose, right? The easier it is for you to put on muscle, the more muscle you're going to have, the more calories your body can handle without putting on fat, or gaining weight, rather, I guess is a better way to put it, as opposed to putting on fat. So 270 pounds at 15% body fat can withstand a significantly larger amount of calories than 270 pounds at 25% body fat, right? So your body needs more calories to function, maintain muscle, and to go throughout its day. The more muscle you actually have.
You put on a lot of muscle, you have a turbo engine.
Yeah, exactly. So all you people out there, make sure you get your hormones in check. It's a big deal, especially when you start getting into your 40s and you're still trying to maintain a high level of output. You really need to be on top of that, just because your body functions better. But some of the benefits of working out are that your body utilizes things like carbohydrates and sugar better.
It's nutrient partitioning.
I like that. Talk about that.
So essentially it is the macronutrients and micronutrients that you take in through food. So macronutrients, carbs, fat, and protein. And then micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. But when your body is, everything's functioning well and you have a lot more muscle on your frame, essentially, this is oversimplification, obviously, but our bodies use those nutrients more efficiently and easily the more muscle we have. We have more storage space for muscle glycogen, the more muscle we have. So the more carbohydrates basically we can take in before that starts getting stored as fat. Like I said, total oversimplification, but the idea is that the more muscle we have, the better our body uses those things that we eat.
So let's break this down to something actionable for people out there. So if you're an underweight person, right, but you should, in my opinion, focus your workouts on eating in a small caloric surplus to where you're steadily gaining a fair amount of muscle until you get to a healthy weight. And then at that point, you can decide whether you want to maintain or keep going. If you put on a little bit of fluff, at that point, you can decide whether or not you want to go in a small caloric surplus for a period of time to where you can actually get as lean as you want to be. If you're a person who's starting out and you're overweight, you should primarily focus your workouts on burning excess calories, right? So say that it's not like Liz mentioned, it's not huge, but say you burn 500 calories in a workout and you work out 5 days a week. So at the end of the week, you're looking at, 2,500 calories?
5 days, yeah.
Yeah, and what is it, 5,200 calories is a pound of fat?
35.
Sorry, 3,500 calories is a pound of fat. So, I mean, it does matter. It's just easier to cut those calories out through diet than it is to cut those calories out through exercise. But every little bit matters. And getting your body healthy and the myriads of benefits that come with lifting weights, you're also going to gain during that time. Everything from, for women, osteoporosis becomes an issue, hormone management, just having a strong, physically capable body, right? So then you're eating in a caloric surplus. You're working out and burning extra calories. Your body's getting stronger. You keep doing that until you get down to a weight that you're, fairly happy with, and then you could decide, okay, cool. Do I want to start increasing my calories to try to put on muscle and attain a specific look or a specific feel or something that a goal that you might have in mind when it comes to muscle mass and how you look in the mirror?
Yeah. I'll add one caveat I've found. Just through years of personal training, people who try to out cardio their diet, or maybe I shouldn't say out cardio their diet. They are watching what they eat, and they're trying to count calories maybe, but they're doing like a lot of cardio because it burns more calories. A lot of times those people end up unintentionally overeating. And then they're wondering why they're doing all this cardio and not losing weight. Well, I should be in a calorie deficit. But then the so much cardio kind of backfires.
You get hungry.
And it's so hungry. So that was me for a while.
Your body's purposely getting hungry because it wants the excess calories and glycogen in order to maintain the level of cardio that you're throwing at it.
Mm-hmm. Bodies really like homeostasis. So you'll kind of get to a point with your weight that, or you've been at roughly the same weight for a long time. Your body tries to maintain that. So when you start dipping below that, your body is going to be giving lots of signals to try to get you to, take actions that are going to get you back to where you started. So maybe somebody's starting at just rough numbers, 175 pounds, and they start working out and they're eating in a calorie deficit, and like doing all the things, and they get down to like 160. Their body is, at least for a while, going to be trying to get back to the 175. So it's going to be increasing hunger signals, and you're going to be feeling a lot more hungry than usual. And those are partially, that's things that you just have to learn to live with and mitigate as much as possible. But that can be managed somewhat by not necessarily you don't have to go crazy with the cardio. It's better to have moderate amounts of cardio, do some weightlifting to maintain as much muscle as possible.
Combine the two in like a HIIT workout.
Yeah.
Our warrior workout,
and
4
then,
p.m.
Yep. In fact, all of our classes pretty much combine strength and cardio. But I find the habits that make it most comfortable. I mean, you're going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be hungry, but managing that hunger so that you're a little bit uncomfortable instead of ravenously hungry all the time is going to be the difference in being able to keep going. And the big thing is the person who's successful is not the one who can white knuckle like 1,000 calorie deficit every day, like for 2 weeks. Like they're going to burn out, they're going to get hungry, they're going to binge, and they're going to be miserable for the length of time that they're doing that. And then they're going to fall off the wagon. The person who can manage a modest deficit and keep up the habits of working out and, eating healthy food, 90% of the time and staying within the appropriate range of calories needed to lose a little bit of weight, they're going to be able to hang in there and stick with it and then actually do it long enough to have real change instead of white knuckling for 2 weeks and being miserable and then falling off the wagon.
Well, the other thing too is I used to fall in this trap cheat days and cheat meals are kind of bullshit. I'm a little bit more like, if I eat bad, I acknowledge that I'm eating bad, and I know that I'm probably justifying it or making an excuse. And it's okay to do that sometimes. That being said, you can undo an entire week or two's worth of work with one bad day of eating. So
in terms of a calorie deficit.
Yes, if you're trying to lose weight. So there's two ways to look at that, though, right? There's, okay, cool, you did it. Like, are you going to like wallow in your own misery, or are you going to stop justifying it, stop making excuses, acknowledge that you did it, be honest with yourself about it, and get back on track? Or are you going to let 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days slip by, kind of just throw everything in the garbage that you had worked for up to that point, and then have to start over a week or two down the road? So the people that are successful are the ones that don't do it that often and kind of rarely eat bad. If they do, like, you can have a slice of pizza. You don't have to have a whole pizza. And I'm speaking from experience. Liz has seen me eat an entire pizza. So I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. What I'm saying is the way I've managed to oftentimes, not all the time, find success is by accepting that I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I'm not making excuses or justifications. Oh, well, I ate clean for 2 weeks. It's okay. Well, no, I undid a bunch of stuff here. I'm going to accept that I did that, and I'm going to move on and get back on track immediately, as opposed to now having ice cream at the end of the night because, oh, screw it, I already had pizza. Like that is a slippery slope that leads to weeks, months, and for some people years of poor eating because they just, I can't do it, I tried. Mm-hmm. Just accept it, get back on track, and move on. It's hard. It's not easy. And I'm speaking from experience here. Well,
and once you've moving on to not keep beating yourself up about it, because it's not, it's not beneficial anymore at that point. Like, the move on, like, mentally move on from it too, because wallowing in it makes you much more likely to repeat the behavior.
Cool. So I think we should wrap it there. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. If you have any questions or you want to tell us how wrong we are, just comment down below, and we'll definitely look at those and probably talk about some of them on the next episode. I definitely want to talk about the 8 sleep as well. Also, I wanted to do, I had this idea for this current events thing. So if you see any, you know what? It doesn't have to be fitness related. If you see anything out there that you want us to talk about, just comment down below. Like any news story headline you're curious our thoughts on, just go ahead and comment down below. And if they're good enough, we'll talk about them next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, guys.